Good afternoon, everyone. Just after 3 o'clock here on Tuesday, 27th of April. The American market has opened up tad down, and as you can see, the advances and the declines pretty much the same. And the short-term trend on VectorVest is up. The underlying trend is up. All the measures of the trend on VectorVest are up. Let's have a look at my holdings, and I'm very pleased with some of them, I must admit. I have these charted, I think, and there's Hortons is a particularly good example. Hortons is in a sector that's working exceptionally well. And the initial entry point was this spring phenomena that I keep talking about. Resistance, came back, tested, goes up, can't make a new high. Okay, call me a liar for a tick or two. And then it came down. It would have been so easy to have got in there, but in fact, markets came back and grabbed those orders that were down below those lows. And markets are not there to make us rich, folks. The principal objective of a market is to fill orders. The orders were down there, market came to the orders, and then we get this huge up day, and that was the day to get in. About 80, it was a lot of time to get in. You could have got in over a week there and you would have got about 80, and now it's moved up very strongly indeed. That's my 21-day moving average. That's the 55-day moving average, and you get very lucky when the 21's above the 55, and the market is in fact trending strongly above the 21. Now that's an outside day, very strong pattern, especially when it's above the 21-day moving average. Now this pattern is another outside day, but this is a special pattern that I call a Popgun. And what happens is you get a down bar, you then get an inside bar, and then you get an outside bar. And that simple pattern invariably precipitates a high volatility move. And that's exactly what happened here. We've had three really good days on the upside. I've pulled my stop loss up on this. At today, my stop loss is still under 90. And I need to pull that up and take some money off the table there. That's been a particularly good trade, especially as a leverage trade. So very proud of that one. It's a share with impeccable VectorVest fundamentals. Undervalued, growing earnings strongly. It's in a really good sector. And for the last day or two, the market has been behaving itself, going the right way. So ticking all the boxes, you get very lucky indeed. So very happy with that. That's Applied Materials. You can see the spring here. You maybe got to look harder to see the spring. Resistance back down to there. Up, definitely can't make a new high. Comes down to the orders and then changes its mind and goes up. I've held it here. My stop loss is, I don't know where it is, somewhere in here. I pulled it up and they invariably pull back into this zone between the 21 and the 55. So I've held that position. Maybe I was more attentive. I should have taken profit there, but that's still going quite nicely. As you can see, today's market action reflecting that initial sell-off. We'll look at that sell-off in a second on the intraday market. I'm hoping that's going to reverse very soon. That's apps, hanging in there in apps. That, of course, is again another example of a spring. I'm in this thing from across here and sweating. You do a lot of sweating in this business. That's Apple, and been in Apple for a while now. Lulu. Now, Lulu, I talked about the entry. The entry was done on a weekly chart, and I've been holding it now for the last week or so, maybe more, maybe 2 weeks, from the 320 level as it broke out of this little pattern. There is a strong momentum pattern on the weekly chart that I've talked about I think last Thursday or Friday, and it's moving up quite nicely. Moving averages are just about to cross here, so this is much more contrarian trade, and if the market does well, then I think this will do well. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. There is risk, there is reward, and folks, we have to accept the risk. I haven't got my stop loss up to entry in that. The stop loss is still underneath these lows. That's about 315. Risk relatively low. This is the GDX. Again, the trade was done based on a weekly chart. Believe it or not, the pattern on the GDX was exactly the same as the pattern on Lulu. So precious metals and yoga pants all saying the same thing at once. That's the SPX, the SP 500 today, and got a tough nut to crack around these 4180 level. I've been speaking about that level now for what, 2 weeks maybe. So I still think there's more upside in it. Another leg up here. There's an earnings week. We shall see. I bought another stock yesterday after the VectorVest Q&A, which is this little punt, which is a technical play. The fundamentals are awful. It's called Upstart. I couldn't resist it, as you can see. Put on volume here. We can see this gap up on huge volume, and then it pulled back. And I know you may think that I'm a one-track pony, but that one track has fed and watered me exceptionally well over the last few years. Again, resistance, up on huge volume, comes back, tests once, goes up, comes back to fetch the second lot of orders and moving up. Bought into it just at the open yesterday afternoon, just after the VectorVest Monday Q&A. I reported it in the Q&A. I have no idea what's going to happen next. The pattern, is the pattern going to work? Is the pattern not? Is it going to be the 60% of the patterns that work and the 40% that don't work? I don't know. All I know is that the pattern is right about 60% of the time. If the fundamentals were coming to the party, I would say it was right more than 60% of the time. But the VectorVest fundamentals, apart from this forecast earnings per share, which is rising. 3 months ago it wasn't, 4 months ago it wasn't making any money, and now it's making 20 American cents a share. So the fundamentals, earnings per share is rising, but the rest of the VectorVest metrics are not good at all. If they were good, then the hit rate would go up. But this is purely a technical trade on its own. If we have a look at the overall market, could have changed a bit since the last time I was here. Yesterday afternoon, again at the VectorVest Q&A, I reported that I traded the spring long just here. And as you can see, there's the market comes back and makes this double bottom here. There was resistance across here, and maybe it's more agricultural than the other ones that I spoke about. But I got into it here prior to the American Open, always dangerous. But I felt that was a good place to take a trade with virtually no risk, of 8 points of risk here, and managed to get made some money up into that high. This afternoon I'm tempted. I haven't done anything yet, but I see it's not a classic spring, but there is resistance, there is test, and now it's come down and run those stops. If I saw it break, if this 30-minute candle finishes here, it's got another 15 minutes to go. If it finishes as doji and then it breaks up through the high of the doji at 4185, then I would be tempted to have a long. Now, there was an up thrust here this morning that many people who are more aggressive than I, it's at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the UK, could have shorted this market, but I only take the springs and up thrusts with the trend. If the trend on VectorVest, short-term trend on VectorVest is up, then I want to be buying springs, i.e. longs. If the trend on VectorVest is down, then I'm quite happy to take shorts. So sitting here waiting on confirmation. I could go to the 5-minute chart and look for confirmation there, but you can get confused easily by doing that. So I'm trading a 30-minute chart, and I'll look again after this video is over at about 3:30. So in the UK, the situation looking good. We're back on green on the colour guard. Short-term trend is up. The longer-term trend is up. We've got a confirmed up. The pointer's in the green. VectorVest saying everything is good. However, we got stopped out of one stock yesterday. At least I did. It pulled back. I should have got out of it quite a long time ago. So I took profits, gave back 15% in one share, Tristel, yesterday. What can you do? Okay, do absolutely nothing. Just shrug your shoulders. In my very first job when I was 18, we were taught cheerfulness in adversity was one of the core beliefs of my first job. Sylvania looks good. Lion Trust looks good. I'm very pleased with them all, actually. The one that I would be disappointed if I got stopped out in, my stops at entry on Canos. We were up really good money in that, and we could easily, quite easily give it back. What can we do? The copper market had an outstanding day today, so I see that BlackRock World Mining Investment Trust that's not in this portfolio has done exceptionally well today. I'm very pleased with this GB group. I've been very happy with this company. I've held it since last March, in fact. And as you can see, this level was always a worry when it got down to 8, but markets were just doing what markets do, folks. They come back to where it's bid. And as I've said many times before, when you see a chart, before you put on all those flashy momentum indicators and all lines and moving averages and whatever, just say to yourself the following. Where are the orders? And I assure you that the orders of the smart money will be sitting at support. So there's resistance, and all you got to do is to draw a horizontal line and you'll see where most of the orders will be. The big money would rather die than chase. So down around there, that's where the orders were. Now the orders could fail, and people keep asking me, how did I know it was going to go up from there? I just didn't. All I knew was that if I bought it at 8, okay, then I can put a tight stop loss and the darn thing either works or it doesn't. Again, folks, risk and reward. It's not the other way around. And I know the VectorVest subscribers in the UK are getting really, really fed up with me talking about risk. But it's my job to make you aware that risk is real and it needs to be managed. You shouldn't avoid risk, but it needs to be managed. Very happy with this little company. And if we go back to a year ago, hard to believe it's a year, but into this from 6 or 6 something, and it's now up 50%. Hasn't been easy going, but nevertheless, I've got a great deal of faith in this little company. Sylvania looks good. Those of you that want overexposure to mining, small miners, Jubilee looks excellent. Jubilee is both platinum and copper. And copper, as you know, as you probably know, made, I think, 10-year highs this morning. So has corn, so has soybeans. So those people that's saying that inflation's going to go away haven't been looking at the numbers. So if we now look at an inflation barometer, we can look at gold. And gold, folks, this is an incredibly important level. I know I keep saying that. All levels, technical levels, are fought over, but this is an important level. That is 62% of this, and it's 38% of that, all coming together at that round number. Couldn't be much rounder than 1800, could it? I still think, folks, that we've got a pullback here. And I'm hoping, and hope is not a strategy, I know, not a word I should use, but I'm hoping to be able to add to gold stocks on a pullback. And I think that pullback will come, and it could easily come back to where? Well, if I was a betting man, I would say that if it does pull back, it's going to pull back to 62% of that, which is 1725, and that's sure going to scare the cats. I think that this 1800 level is really, really important. I haven't added to any gold stocks. I'm holding polymetal. I'm very happy with polymetal. I think that there is a big dividend coming soon. and that's what, a 5.5–6% dividend yield, which can't be sniffed at. So very happy to hold that. Been paid to wait, but haven't added. I am really getting quite aggressive, and I want to buy Pan-African Resources, and I've tied my little hands to the seat here, so I won't do it. But Pan-African Resources, in terms of fundamentals at the mine, and in terms of the harmonic pattern that it's showing, that I spoke about yesterday afternoon at the VectorVest Q&A, just looks outstanding. So a pullback to better levels in gold, or a nice big break up through that 1800. This is an incredibly important level in gold. By the way, folks, if you're not a gold type, precious metals type investor, then just leave it well alone. But when you get addicted to gold stocks, they're very difficult to stay away from, because you can get 10 baggers in 3 months when they actually move. So and that's been very, very pleasant too many times in the past for me to forget about them. I still think there's a huge move coming in gold, but many of my colleagues are also believe there's a huge move coming in gold, believe that this is too easy, that it needs to go down to run these lows before moving. There's an awful lot of orders, they believe, bid down around those lows. So I'm hoping that's not the case. We're going to move from here, as you can see. We've got this fairly textbook flag at that 62% of this. I thought it was going to move there, it didn't. So let's just watch it. It's having a good day today, and gold stocks are up a little bit. As you can see from the American market, well, my GDX is up 0.8%. So it's hanging in there. Upstart is going well, up 5% on the day. It was up well yesterday, and Horton's has been great. So if we go back to the intraday market, we're still doing our best. So you can see this indecision that's coming out at this level, and it's gone down lower than I thought it would. I thought it would go to 78% of that. So I'm just sitting and waiting. This is an earnings week, an awful lot of news around, so it's going to be noisy, that's for sure. Pretty much anybody who's anybody is reporting this week. The VectorVest trends are up, and I'm positive. Thanks very much.